Welcome, East Hartford, to another edition of Hartford Community Leaders. My name is Lakia Siobhan Leitner, and today we're going to be talking about the community alumni panel that I got a chance to sit on.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Rojas. I'm class of 1994 here at East Hartford High School. Career-wise, right now, I currently work in higher education. I've worked in higher education for 20 years. I work at Trinity College in Hartford, where I'm the Chief of Staff for the President and Executive Vice President for External Affairs. So in that role, I essentially support the President in running a college, which is no small endeavor, really complicated process. Small college, small liberal arts school, we have about 2,300 students, but we also have some of the best students from around the world. We get 6,000 to 7,000 applications a year to come to Trinity. We accept about 500 students every year. So really competitive. What we're looking for in our students, and we were just talking a little bit about SATs. SATs are wonderful, you should take them, but at Trinity College, we're actually test optional. So you can submit your SAT scores or not, we really don't care. What we're really looking for is to sit down and talk with you about why it is you want to come to a place like Trinity College, why is it you want to be educated in a place like Hartford, Connecticut, and we're really focused on your ability to communicate both orally and in writing. Those are the things we focus on, but we also want you to take the most difficult classes you can take while you're here in this building, because obviously we want the best and brightest students to come to Trinity and benefit from one of the best liberal arts educations that you can get in the world. In addition to working in higher education, I'm also an elected official, so I serve in the Connecticut House of Representatives. I represent a piece of East Hartford and a piece of Manchester. I'm one of 151 members of the House of Representatives. I'm in my 6th term, which means I'm entering my 12th year up at the legislature, and I happen to chair the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee. And if any of you have a job and are paying taxes, I'm the person who helps determine how many taxes we're going to take out of your paycheck. So sometimes I'm not the most popular person, but at the same time, I help raise the revenue that's needed to fund your schools, help pay your teachers' salaries, help keep your roads plowed, build your highways, all that kind of stuff that I think the average person takes for granted, but it's clearly really important to our everyday lives in ways that perhaps you can't appreciate today. A little bit of my personal story. I grew up here in East Hartford. I went to Silver Lane, went to East Hartford Middle School, obviously went here to the high school, and I always like to tell the story that I met my wife here in the hallways of East Hartford High School. So be nice to each other, because I'm sure you're not thinking about it now, but one day you could end up marrying somebody in here, so be really nice to each other, because eventually you might.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lakia Siobhan Leitner Pageant. I graduated from Hartford Seminary, University of St. Joe's. I'm going to UMass for my PhD in the Women's Studies field, because that's what I have my other degrees in. I work in the Women's Studies field, also serve as chairwoman for the National Women's Studies Association. Also, I'm First Lady at my husband's church. I write books. I own businesses. I do a television show with my husband. So many hats I have. I graduated from here in class of 99. Prior to that, I graduated from East Hartford Middle, Langford School. And my ultimate goal is to be in charge of the Women's Centers at my former alma mater. So I would like to do that once I get my PhD.
Hi everyone, my name is Inez. I am the class of 2007. I currently work at Central Connecticut State University. I advise student athletes on campus. So I work primarily with our men's basketball program, our football program, and our women's lacrosse team. So I am a military brat. I was born in Germany. My family's from Puerto Rico, so we lived in Puerto Rico for a few years. Lived in South Carolina and then came to Connecticut, where I graduated from middle school and I graduated from high school here. So graduated from CCSU with a major in sociology, and I have my master's degree in counseling. I found out that I really loved working with college students, so that's what I'm doing now. While I was at East Hartford High, I was a quiet student my first few years, and then my junior year, I became the captain of the volleyball team, so that was really exciting. Played volleyball here, and I was also on student council. So it's always nice coming back. Today is actually my day off. I should be waking up and having breakfast right now in my pajamas, but I'm here. I love to come back to East Hartford High and share my story and just meet with the students and just give back to the community that really shaped who I am today. So I'm excited to talk to you guys, share our stories, And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Good morning, my name is Bob Francis. I graduated about over 40 years ago from Penny High School, because it used to be called Penny High School. We had two high schools. Parents may remember that. So I work for a company called Paradigm Precision in Manchester. I'm the Vice President of Operational Excellence. I go all over the world with our different businesses to try and improve the businesses. I started work at Pratt Whitney here in East Hartford, worked there for about 30 years and did some other jobs in various places. My experience here at what was then Penny High School, it was a difficult environment. We used to have to go to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. They had double sessions because they were building the middle, which we used to call the media center in Penny High School at the time. So one of the reasons that I'm here is I saw the 60 Minutes episode with Ray Dalio here, and I recognized the media center and said, oh, that's interesting, it's our old school. And I thought his wife and he are donating $100 million to the state of Connecticut to improve education. So as part of that, I went to Donors Choose and I started donating money. So every payday, I donate more than I actually started making when I was probably your age, going to work at Pratt Whitney, to different programs. I grew up in East Hartford. I lived on Manor Circle off O'Connell Drive. I went to O'Connell School. I went here at Penny. My wife graduated here also. She was a freshman when I was a senior. I didn't really know her. I used to read about her because she was a really good tennis player. She won the first singles state championship here in tennis back in the day, before most people were born. But I'm hoping we can shed some light and give you guys some ideas and motivate you, all right, to do a good job in school and utilize your time well. And we have a bunch of questions, and we have some great people here to give you some insight. Their insight's probably going to be more valuable than mine, because I can talk about my kids going through what they've gone through. But I will tell you, having gone through the school here, it's a window of opportunity. I did some mentorship at Hartford Public High School for UTC, and there's a high dropout rate, and the kids, you need some direction. You need to talk to people who have been through what you've been through, and hopefully we can give you some value in the discussions we're having this morning.
So, what about your East Hartford High School experience makes you so willing to come here and share everything with us?
I like to go first. Repeat the question.
What about your East Hartford experience makes you willing to come here and share your experience with us?
So, how many of you know what a first generation college student is? Yeah? How many of you are going to be first generation college? All right. So, first generation means you're the first in your family to go off to college. So that's my story. I'm a first generation college graduate. So as a student at East Hartford High, I really challenged myself by taking college prep classes and getting involved in college. But when I went to apply to colleges, I got denied from every single school. So I was captain, had decent grades, but my SAT scores were really low. So when I was rejected from every school, Miss Cullen in the guidance office sat me down and she's like, well, why don't you go to MCC for a year? And I just felt like I worked so hard those last 4 years that I wanted to see what the options were. So East Hartford High School does great when it comes to college readiness and preparedness. So there was a college counselor from CCSU that came to visit here, and she talked about the admissions program, and she offered me a conditional acceptance into the Latino Comcast program at CCSU. So I graduated high school on June 19th, maybe we graduated, June 20th. And then on July 1st, I moved into CCSU's campus to take 3 college classes to prove to the university that I could be successful in college. And I share that because as a first generation college student, East Hartford High School really prepared me and gave me the support. My family supported me in ways that my teachers, it differed. So I just remember Miss Cohen sitting down with me, some of my high school teachers sitting down with me and looking at what my packages were and what my offers were when it came to financial aid and navigating that process. Because again, my family didn't know anything about that. So I think when we think about East Hartford High and why I come back to share my story, it's because some of you may be able to relate to my experience. And if I could be someone to connect you or to help give you encouragement and motivation, I am more than willing to do that. So that is why I'm here today. I should be eating my breakfast in my pajamas. Just letting y'all know, for those who are sleeping in the audience, wake up. I appreciate it. Thanks.
My mother graduated from college. She's also a teacher. So even at home, I had the confidence that I needed, especially when I came here as a student as well. All my teachers gave me the confidence that I already had at home. So that gave me the cockiness, you might call it. But you need it in life, because in life you're gonna have people that don't want what's good for you. I'm just gonna let you know before you get out in the world. You have people that's gonna hate on you. I know you know that word. But you have to just, do what you have to do for yourself and ignore those people. So the reason why I come back to my old school is because I was in your shoes once, and I just, back then I wanted people to encourage me. They were there for me. So I want to let you know that I'm there for you as well. If you have any questions or need any guidance, I'm there for you as well, because I was once in your shoes.
I always enjoy coming back to East Hartford High School. I believe black and gold. I always have. I've always been very proud to be from East Hartford and to have graduated from East Hartford High School. So any opportunity that I have to come back and tell my story, and to the extent that it impacts or informs any of you, I'm certainly willing to do that. I think the biggest lessons that I got out of coming to East Hartford High School was this real commitment to community service. As you might imagine, when I was here at the high school, I joined every club and did lots of community service and was president of student council. And that really just gave me an appreciation for other people. In my life today, in terms of politics, I like to say that the quality of life of the family down the street directly impacts the quality of life of my family. And that's how I try to live my life in serving others. And I really learned those lessons here at the high school, because life is not all about you. It's not all about me. It's certainly about all the other people who impact your lives. Nobody gets anywhere on their own. Everybody gets here with enormous supports along the way. And as a first generation college-bound student myself, my parents always instilled the value of education in me. But my dad didn't finish high school. My mom graduated from high school. They don't speak English today. They certainly didn't speak English then. I didn't have anybody around me who was kind of guiding me towards the direction of to go to college. Until I got into this building, and I found a bunch of teachers who were more confident in my ability than I was in myself. And I still remember, whether it's Mrs. Clark, who was my guidance counselor, who I'm blessed to still see every Sunday at church because she still lives here in East Hartford, or whether it was Mr. Liapez, who was a vice principal, who gave me a lot more breaks than he ever should have given me. Given that, believe it or not, I was a knucklehead quite often here in the hallways of East Hartford High School. Even though I was a good student, I was always trying to keep it real and impress my friends by not doing everything that I was supposed to be doing. But luckily, I had those adults in my life in this building who had confidence in me and helped guide me through that really difficult path of applying to college, applying for financial aid, finding scholarships, making sure that I was prepared to go on and deal with some of the more difficult challenges that you go through when you go to college. And even when I got to college, despite all that preparedness, I still messed up quite a bit, and I think we might get to that in some future questions.
Alright, so my next question for you guys is, what were some of the things that you four were involved in during your time at East Hartford High, and how do you think your time here impacted your success today?
Can you repeat the question?
So what were some of the activities, or what were some of the things that you guys were involved in during your time at East Hartford High, and how did your time here affect your success today?
Yeah, I think I just spoke a little bit about that, so I won't go on too long. I was just involved in every club that was possible out there. And that gave me actually a lot of lessons in working with other people and taking on leadership opportunities and making decisions on behalf of other people. It's not easy to assume leadership positions and have to make difficult decisions. because often when you make difficult decisions, obviously people aren't always happy with you, but we need people, and I think now more than ever, if you ever pay attention to the news, we need new, stronger leaders who are focused on things beyond their own personal interests, because there is a crisis in this country right now with civic engagement and civic awareness. And all of you in 3 or 4 short years are going to inherit all the problems that all of us are dealing with right now. And we certainly need an informed and civically engaged populace who can assume the leadership positions that we're all sitting in now and have to deal with some of the most difficult issues that we're dealing with as a society, because you may not think they're impacting you now. They are, and you will certainly become far more aware of it once you hit adulthood, and that begins at 18 or 19. You get treated real differently once you turn 18 and 19 in a whole number of ways, and we just really need all of you to be prepared to take on those leadership opportunities.
When I was a student here, I was in volleyball, just because I don't like sports, but I played volleyball and I stunk at it. I stayed on the bench doing my homework. And also I was a cheerleader, and I really enjoyed that part of me. But my time in those 2 organizations helped me prepare for college, where I did establish 2 clubs. I established a nonprofit sisterhood, and also the National Women's Studies Association. And, let's see, what was it? It was like it was High Honor Society for that field, because that was my major back then. So that's why I credit East Hartford High. My time, at the clubs helped me prepare for my college time, preparing for my clubs there and establishment.
So for me, like I mentioned, I was on the volleyball team. So it was my freshman year. It was like 2 weeks before school started. They had tryouts, and they mailed us a letter home, and it was either the drill team or volleyball. And the drill team scared me. It's like you had to dance in front of people. Do you guys still have a drill team?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Are there drill members here?
Right here.
Yes. Kudos to you all, because they dance. They do all this stuff in front of football games and stuff, and that scared me. But I knew I had to do something, so then I joined volleyball. I have a heavy hand, so I hit the ball across the net, and it worked out for me. So by my sophomore year, I was playing in varsity games, and then my junior, my senior year, I was the captain of the team. And so with that came responsibilities, being a leader, encouraging my teammates. So all of those skills I learned, but while I was here, I didn't really think I was learning any skills. And then when I got to Central and I became a student leader on campus, I could reflect on some of those skills that I learned as the captain of the volleyball team. So I will say that I was a really, really quiet kid at East Hartford High. I was shy. English is my second language, so I struggled sometimes in the classrooms, but my experiences here, getting involved, doing student council, just helped me learn some of those skills that I needed to be successful in college. Even though college wasn't a smooth transition, I had some of those skills. Being a Hornet means that you have to deal with adversity. It means that you have to deal with people from different communities, diversity, inclusion. So all of those things, y'all are probably looking at us like, what are you talking about? I promise you, in 5 years, 6 years, when you're in college and you're entering the workforce, you're gonna think about these experiences, and you're gonna know that it shaped you to be who you are then, so.
So it was a long time ago when I was here, and hello Pat Cohen, I see you back, Allie's mom. So I played basketball and I ran track. So when I came into East Hartford High School, it was Penny High School at the time, I was on the freshman team, but I was also on the junior varsity team. So we had double sessions, so I had to come in, go to school, and then I usually walk down to Friendly's, which was down near that direction there, and come back from junior varsity practice. And then at night, I'd eat pot pies. My mom was tired of making meals for us at different times. So I started to learn to manage my time because there's a little bit of hardship, and we did that for a couple of years. I think Mr. Liapez was the junior varsity basketball coach. He really knew nothing about basketball. He was a good baseball coach. If you was here, that's all that. So we had a pretty good basketball team. And we used to compete with East Hartford High School. But I think that experience of that screwed up schedule and trying to manage your time forced me to try and manage time better. and when will they study? And like I told the previous group, if you're a basketball player, when you're at Penny High School, you didn't let anyone know you studied. Okay, it wasn't cool to get good grades. We were not the type of kids who were involved in all the clubs. Okay, we played a sport. Okay, we weren't one of the, so you're either a nerd, a jock, or a head back then. A head was someone that smoked weed all day. A jock would play sports, and a nerd would be ones that studied. So you wouldn't let anyone know that you're studying, even if you got good grades. You never let them know you got a good grade. That was just the peer pressure at the time, right? And to me, playing in sports, you get a lot of visibility, so people know who you are. I was a good kid. You know, most teachers back then, I used to tell people I could shoot something in the hall. I'd have 10 teachers line up and say, "There's no way Bobby Francis ever did that," or Tommy Francis, my brother. Right? We had a good reputation, and it was interesting. A lot of my friends, I grew up. We went to school at O'Connell School, you know, down off of O'Connell Drive, and when we got to high school, because we were involved in sports, we were pretty good, but people knew who we were, right? So I had friends of mine who were heads. You know, they're smoking weed out back in the school, they're doing whatever. And I kept those friends, right? Those are my friends. And there was peer pressure from the teachers, actually. What are you doing with that kid? You know, oh, that's a friend of mine. Well, you know, that kid got involved with this or did this. And they were all friends of mine, right? So I think trying to understand, once you got to high school, everything got spread out. You know, you didn't see people as much. And I think the sports helped me to stay focused. It occupied some of my time. I had another experience here 40 years ago. I was on this stage speaking to a large group that filled this whole auditorium. And there was a teacher I had named John Larson. John now is a congressman. He was our history teacher, okay? And John talked me into doing this Youth in Government Day, run for office. And he said, if you and your friends do this, I'll give you an A in the class. So, I don't know if I'll admit that now, but. So we said, well, what do we have to do? Well, you speak in front of people. And I said, I don't know if I'm good at speaking in front of people. So we ended up doing it and we won. So interesting story. The Hartford Current comes to the school to interview a group of us. They ask us a bunch of questions. One of the questions was, there's a guy named Dick Blackstone who was the mayor of East Hartford at the time. And they said, he wants the town to buy him a car because he has to drive all around. So I said, if I was making as much money as him, I'd buy my own car. So we laughed, we thought it was funny, right? So we're joking around. Next day, the paper comes out, there's a picture of the group of us. It says, student mayor successor says mayor should buy his own car. So I come back to school and I said, John, what the hell? He starts laughing. He says, hey, this is Bobby, this is politics. And I said, well, this is bullshit. Why would they take that one thing I was just kidding about and put it in the newspaper? So now John's a congressman. He's done very well for himself. He was a teacher here. He grew up in Bayberry Village. And his brother Timmy was the mayor of East Hartford at one point. You know, I know Timmy pretty well. So I think these different things that happen, don't be afraid to participate, whether it's a club or some event. I think it's great that you're going out and I see the kids out there raking and cleaning up people's yards and things like that. The company that I work for, we have a community day in Manchester, Paradigm Precision, and we go and we paint someone's house who's, you know, not able to do it, or help people who can't help themselves, I think is important.
Why is serving the community important to you, and how are you currently serving the community?
I'll just make one quick comment. I think serving the community is people that can't help themselves, being able to help them. You know, the concept of giving, when someone can't give back to you, I think is pretty cool. Some people will say, well, why should I do that? They didn't do anything for me. You'd be surprised.
Welcome to all of our viewers out there. We just want to present to you the work that we've been doing in our community, in our East Hartford community, working with the students in East Hartford at East Hartford High School. And so Lakia, a panelist for the community engagement. And so we want to ask Lakia a little bit about the program that you started there at East Hartford High School.
Thank you, Donald. The title of the event was Community Awareness Alumni Panel. And I got a chance to talk to the students, encourage them, and inspire them, and provide knowledge about college life and the real life. Because as you know, at that age, they don't know how the real world is. So I was there to give them a reality check that they so need.
And so, how many students have you engaged with this engagement?
It was the whole school that day. They broke it down from 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade because the auditorium can fit so many students. So that's how they broke it up.
So we're talking about maybe 250 students that was engaged.
Yes.
And one of the things that that inspired me is that we had individuals from different walks of life that spoke on that day. And you were one of the panelists on that day. You talked about education. You talked about college life and experience. Give us a little bit of taste on that information that you spoke about.
Yes, I talked to them about my experience with my personal life, my career life, education life, and I just let them know how things are because they don't really know how things are. Most of them watch TV, but they haven't been out here like I have and other panelists and Donald have. So I gave them a dose of reality of how life can be. Although you plan things, life has its way of bringing you to another path. So I let them know about that. Also, I shared the colleges that I graduated from and that I'm going to continue on for higher degrees. I discussed that as well. Let them know that you can do. There's more degrees out there that you can obtain. You don't have to just settle for this. You can go higher in life. I'm sure they probably don't know about that because a lot of the students, their parents haven't been to college. So it's good to teach them that it's higher degrees that you can obtain in life.
And one of the things that touched me was that at the very end, students were coming up to you and myself, asking what we did and in the field that we're in, and we were able to enlighten them and encourage them and tell them about going to college and how to apply for college and how to apply for student grants and and things like that. And also, we had people on a personal note, come up to you and they say they could relate to some of the things that you were saying about your personal life, and you being, the 8 siblings. Your mom had 8 siblings, and so they can understand that you were the oldest, of them all. And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel good because a lot of people don't know how it is to be the oldest. As the oldest, it's a lot of pressure for us because as you know, my mother was a single parent. Although she finished college and everything, I watched her struggle. With us. And I just, and when a young lady came up to me and she told me that she has 8 siblings too and she the oldest, I just take a step back for a moment, like, wow, that was me in high school, trying to live my life and having to help out at home. So that made me feel really good. It was a good feeling to hear from another person that was in my shoes.
And one of the things I think too, and even some of the young men that were there, they came up to me and they asked me about my career goals and opportunities, the different things that I do in the music industry. And these young people are so engaged into music, today, and they want to be involved with music engineering. Videoing, and so I gave them opportunity to speak about what they want to do in their life, and then also encourage them and give them tips, practical tips on how to start and receive the college courses. And to let them know about different colleges and experience. And we had one lady that came to me, and I'm not a nurse, but she wants to get into nursing, go into nursing, and I was engaged with her and talked with her about, I said, to get into nursing, you go to Capital Community College or Manchester Community College, and a 2-year college or a 4-year college. I said, to get that nursing degree, you can just go into basically 2-year college and get your certification, for nursing, and it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But but there's some options, and give them options, that they never thought about, and so that was great. And how often do you do these talks?
I do the talks often because I think it's needed. The kids need a daily dose of reality. They're so wrapped up into their parents taking care of things for them. They don't know how it is out here to take care of yourself and depend on yourself.
So, yeah, so we want to thank you for all the work you've been doing in Hartford Community Leaders, and we're going to continue and continue success.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you so much. And now we have a special guest today. We'll be talking about community and grassroots organizations that are doing the work in our communities. And we have a guest today, Mr. Brendan Colbert, of the CEO and founder of the Colbert Foundation. He's here with us. Welcome to Hartford Community Leaders.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Today, there are thousands and hundreds of grassroots organizations that are doing work in our community, helping individuals in need in our communities through inspiration, motivation, financial. They're helping out in our communities to assist in different areas of health and wellness. And we have organizations that are doing the work, the needed work in our communities that is much needed in different parts of the community. We have people with starvation, people that need encouragement, inspiration. And today, speaking with us, Mr. Brendan Colbert from the Colbert Foundation. And he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and how he got started.
Sure. So my name is Brendan Colbert. I'm the founder and CEO of the Colbert Foundation. This organization, like you mentioned, it's a grassroots organization. What we do, we specialize in self-esteem and self-confidence retention. Keyword retention. I believe the difference between a motivator and an inspirer is anybody who's a good articulator, anybody who's good with words can motivate you to do anything. What we want to do is inspire you, so the credit goes to you. I can motivate you to get up and go to work today. Some people are motivated out of fear. Some people are motivated because if they don't do this thing, they don't get a paycheck. But if we can inspire you to be greater, the credit all goes to you. So we specialize in self-esteem and self-confidence retention through 3 components. The first component is inspirational speaking, which I've been doing for the past decade. The second component is multimedia projects. I put up my first documentary last year called Stronger Than My Fears. What we did, we interviewed 6 young professionals from Connecticut all the way down to Jersey, and we interviewed them, and we basically had a conversation about being stronger than your fears. What makes you stronger than your fears? And if you don't feel like you're stronger than your fears, what journey are you on right now to cross that finish line of being stronger than your fears? Currently, I'm working on a couple of multimedia projects, working on my second documentary, and hopefully working on a pilot for my own talk show. That's a part of the multimedia sector.
Great.
Third, and the most near and dear to my heart, is philanthropy.
Yeah.
I believe that you do not have to be a millionaire or a billionaire to be a philanthropist.
Right.
I believe that you can be a philanthropist with $10 in your pocket. So since 2014, I have given out an annual scholarship called Stronger Than My Fears Scholarship.
Right.
It used to be called the Chasing the Anticipation of Possibility Scholarship, where I would award an undergraduate student a $500 scholarship. And we've been doing that every year since 2014.
Wow.
And the second aspect of my philanthropy, doing a turkey drive since 2016.
Wow.
It started out the 25 turkeys for 25 families, and then the year after that, we increased it to 100 turkeys for 100 families.
Wow.
It's Colbert Foundation.
Tell me the need in the community. What are some of the needs in the community?
I believe one of the biggest needs in the community starts with the reflection in the mirror. You and I, we can list a plethora of different tangible needs. Hunger, jobs,
Right.
finances. But until people understand that their first love needs to be the reflection in the mirror, nothing else. We will not see a turnaround in anything else. I understand what it is for your first love not to be the reflection in the mirror. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that self-esteem and self-confidence is the core of everything hurtful in this world. So that's why when I decided to take this route in my life, I knew that that needed to be the fundamentals of my organization in order for me to fulfill my purpose.
And also I think also is when you talk about love, because I was just recently a panelist and I would engage over 250 individuals, and so one of the things I said is that we have lost the love for each other.
Yes.
And I think one of the things is that knowing your neighbor and knowing who they are and what they do. How does that interact? And
Well, when I'm speaking to a person, whether it's at a workshop or a panel discussion or wherever I am, that person needs to be the most important person to me. Whatever issue they have needs to be the most important person or the most important issue to me. But it's also important to say that I'm not a fixer. So to your point, loving your neighbor or having more love in your heart towards the person to the left or the right to you doesn't necessarily mean that you can wipe away all their problems or you can love away all their problems. So I believe that the disconnect where people have decided to love less is because of the intimidation that, well, if I love more, then the weight on my back is going to be, well, I have to fix all their problems.
Right.
And that's simply not true. Simply saying hello, simply saying, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Keep smiling can really change a person's day.
Right. And just, we engage students in the schools, and just to hear their stories and, hear that they're motivated, just hear their stories and to know that they've been encouraged. I watched your videos and I see a lot of people were so encouraged, but what made them encouraged for the work that you've been doing, and what made them inspired by your speaking?
I believe what makes people inspired by my words is the knowledge that I did not let my pain be in vain. I also don't romanticize my pain. So it used to surprise me how many people would be encouraged by my words. Because I'm an average Joe. I don't have any fancy speech patterns. I'm not theatrical. I don't jump on tables or and no disrespect to any speakers who do, because there's a market for that. But my workshops are very raw, and they're actually longer than most people's are. My workshops are between 2 and 3 hours. Now, I don't talk for 2 and 3 hours. We split it up. But I believe the transparency that I offer in my workshops really make people comfortable comfortable that just because I'm an inspirational speaker does not mean that I'm a perfect person. I wear my scars on my sleeve. And when you're talking to somebody who is not afraid to let you see their pain, it makes you feel more comfortable to say, well, I have pain too. And I built my empire, or I am building my empire on top of the things that used to cause me pain, agony, and disparity. So.
What are some of the typical types of issues that people go through that you've been, engaged with when talking to the individuals and motivating them, and inspiring them? What are some of the things that they go through? If you would like to share a personal story.
I guess the one that has always stayed with me is there was a young lady when I was speaking in Baltimore, Maryland. I was at a national conference for teenagers. It was teenagers from all over the world. All over America, and there were some from Canada. I wish it was all over the world. But this young lady came to my session, and she was talking about feeling inadequate. So we asked her, why? Why do you feel inadequate? And she said, I'm the youngest of 4, and all of my brothers and sisters are very successful. And my parents are always talking about what I'm going to do when I get older. Now, mind you, this is a teenager. She had to be a sophomore in high school. And she says, I feel inadequate. What if I don't want to do that? And what if I'm not successful enough for my parents? And then I let her know, number 1, that's a toxic environment that you're in. Number 2, whatever your purpose is in life, and you work hard every single day to do it, you will be successful. We need to remove the ideology that our success is attached to our tax bracket.
Right.
You hear it all the time, especially in movies.
Right.
Oh, she's going to be a doctor, he's going to be a lawyer, he's going to be an engineer, he or she. If they love medicine, law, or STEM, that makes sense. But you can be, I will consider you successful if you are a librarian simply because you have an intimate relationship with language.
Right.
I consider that person successful. So when we remove predetermined versions of success and replace that with what makes you happy, now don't get me wrong, this is in no way a replacement for ambition, because I'm an ambitious person and I push all of my audience members to be ambitious, but I give them the keys to what ambition is. So I would say that's the number 1 thing.
How important is it to have a plan, and not a plan just in the mindset, a plan written?
Very important. You can ask my interns. I do not do the hypotheticals. I don't do the, hey, what do you plan to do with your life? I want to be an entrepreneur. That's not an answer.
Right.
It's not an answer. And I'm sure you encounter that all the time, especially when you go speak to high schools and middle schools.
Yes.
I want to work for myself. That's not an answer. I give myself a daily schedule, a weekly schedule, a monthly schedule.
Right.
You have to have a plan, because if you don't take yourself serious, how can you expect me to take you serious? It's extremely important.
And you know, we have you know, so many individuals that are dealing with a pain, you know, in the workplace.
Yes.
What would you say for an individual that's in the workplace that's dealing with, you know, some of the sort of things that come with the workplace?
I would say identify if it's something that will pass, and if it's something that is worth your peace. And if it is not worth your peace, if you are able to find another workplace, do so. Because there are, you can look it up in the papers, there are instances where people are hurting themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Because their workplace is so toxic.
Right.
And with the economy right now, it's hard to find a job. Your work is not worth your life.
Right.
However, on the flip side, in 2019, there are structures set up with HR and so on and so forth. So there are things that you can do that you may not know that you can do to make your workplace less toxic. So to answer your question in a word, I would say communicate your feelings to whomever is appropriate.
Right. And one of the things that, too, I had a young man come to my rehearsal studio in East Hartford, and what happened was that he said he was telling me some stories, and I told him that to be inspired about what you love to do, these after work, to kind of get your mind off of the things that are at work. And so he began to come in and do his rehearsals and work on his music. And and every week that he comes in, I can see a change in him. He feels more confident. He feels better, about himself and about his music, and he's motivated. He just told me last Friday. He said, I want to get more songs together. I want to start writing more songs. So and he's feeling better about himself. It's just a little ways, just doing some things after work, taking time out for himself.
Absolutely.
To and the things that he loved to motivate him
Yeah.
and to inspire him, and it just did my heart so good. And so we're working along with him, and we're looking to get a recording done with
Okay.
him, and so so it's going to be great, the project. And so and do you mentor like the students or individuals that you're encountered? Say for instance, you do the speaking engagement, you do, discussion. What happens after?
So there is always a handful of students who proactively reach out to me and ask to work with me further or mentor or be mentored by me. And the answer is typically yes. Every major speaking engagement that I have participated in has always ended with me mentoring. I'm always down to mentor because I never had a mentor growing up, and I understand the value in that. So I have a core group of young people that I mentor, and they'll probably be with me till forever. But as far as after the workshops, absolutely, I do mentor.
Tell us what inspired you to do motivational speaking. I know it's when we hear motivational speakers, we hear of people like the Clintons, or some book writer, and they're doing motivational speakings. They're millionaires already, and So what inspired you?
My inspiration to become a speaker was completely opposite than a traditional story. It was when I was in basic training for the United States Air Force. I was talking to my brothers in arms, and for those of you who don't know, letter time is the best time of the day. When our loved ones and family members write us letters, everybody's reading the letters, and sometimes it's bad news. Sometimes it's bad news, and sometimes people will read those letters out loud, and I would offer my unsolicited advice sometimes, which was okay in basic training, for no specific reason. Everybody was talking to everybody's family. Unfortunately, I ended up getting medically discharged from the United States Air Force. And the famous question, what are you going to do when you get home? I had no idea what I was going to do when I got home. Probably go try to get my part-time job back. And they all said, you should be a motivational speaker. You should be an inspirational speaker. Then I said, you're out of your mind. Because like you just mentioned, I didn't really have a lot of respect for inspirational speakers because of my experience. I went to East Hartford High, grew up in East Hartford, and unfortunately the only motivational speakers the school district would book were wealthy people, athletes who got on stage, and all they did was talk about themselves and talk about how they do all these wonderful things with their money and their success. To me, that doesn't inspire me. That doesn't inspire my neighbor. That doesn't inspire the poor kid, or even the family who is not poor. Because you can't connect with somebody simply off your tax bracket. Fast forward a little bit. I had just started serving on the Foundation Board of Directors for Capital Community College, and one of my mentors, John McNamara, he asked me to give the opening address for one of the student scholarships at a gala. Now, I had no idea what a gala was at this point in time. I had never been to one. Like I mentioned before, this is before my suits were even tailored, so I went home and went back to my apartment and got like one of my black suits that I had, and I wore it. I was looking at the picture the other day, and I was embarrassed. So I gave the speech. And all I did was basically tell a story like I just told you about how the military, even though my time was short, it inspired me and changed my trajectory as a man. A couple days later, I had found out that a donor in the audience had created a $40,000 scholarship for veterans. And she said she was inspired by my speech. And I was like, wow, I could really move a room. I could move an audience. So fast forward to about 4 months later, I did my first speaking engagement with the Urban League of Greater Hartford. It was a GED class. It wasn't even like a traditional motivational speaking session. I did do a motivational speaking session because I turned it into one, but and then the rest is history. But I was always worried about me as a motivational speaker because I'm a very serious person. Like I have a serious demeanor. And for the longest time, I thought people would not respond well to that because I am not a character. I don't have a gimmick. I believe motivation and inspiration is extremely serious. Sadly, people are ending their lives because of depression and anxiety and lack of self-worth. So my workshops are serious, and not to take anything away from people whose workshops aren't, because there's a need for that as well. But I was always worried that I wouldn't have an audience because people, when faced with extremely serious topics that are in your face, people get uncomfortable, as we know. So my market is extremely small. It's a pocket market, but I'm okay with that because that's my purpose. But I also am a businessman. So I had to understand that you can't just do one thing. That's why I added the multimedia aspect and the philanthropy sector to the organization. I was driving one day and I was in traffic and I was like, I can't just be a motivational speaker. I do all these other things. Let's make it a foundation. So that's where we are.
And you do motivation speaking all across the country?
Yeah, I haven't left the East Coast yet, but that's the plan.
Oh, okay.
The furthest I've gone is Florida.
Okay.
Nova Southern University down in Tampa. Yeah, that's the furthest I've gone.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're looking to get nationwide, but traveled a little bit, makes you feel good.
And you were the recipient of the 100 Men of Color.
Yes, 100 Men of Color class of 2017.
Okay.
Huge honor.
All right. Yeah.
Feel good about that.
And tell us, what was that experience like?
Oh, that was I had a plethora of emotions that day. You know, I felt so honored to be a part of the 100 Men of Color. Number one, I didn't expect it because of what we were talking about. I didn't think that many people paid attention to me. My style is so different from everybody else. I just figured I was ostracized. But the other emotions I was having, I was very sad that day because the people that put me on this track are no longer here. They gave their lives in battle. So I'm being honored for this prestigious award, and I can never thank the three men who put me on this track. So what happened that day, I was sitting there, and I had to tell myself, you know what? You can continue to honor them by doing more work with the Cobra Foundation. So it was a emotion-filled day.
What are some of the things that you love to do outside of the foundation, outside of everything that you do, and you know, your work in the community? What are some of the things that you like to do?
Well, I'm trying to be less of a workaholic. I recently got engaged.
Oh, congratulations!
So, thank you. So I've been planning a wedding. I recently got engaged, so I'm planning a wedding. That's actually funner than I thought it would be. You know, you hear about these things on TV, but it's actually kind of fun. Planning a wedding, setting up the appointments, and this and that. But what do I like to do? I love art. I frequent the ballet. My fiance and I, we frequent the ballet, the opera, theater a lot. We volunteer with the Hartford Symphony Orchestra a couple times every other month. I like to bowl.
All right.
That's a fun fact about me. I really like to bowl, escape rooms. But I'm a homebody.
Okay.
I like to be at home. I'm a huge movie buff, though.
Okay.
Yes. I love movies. We go to the movies 2-3 times a month.
Wow.
Yeah. We definitely am a movie buff, and I like to spend time with family.
Yes.
That's what I do.
You know, the reason why I ask is because a lot of times we get caught up into, we have our businesses, we have organizations, we have other things that we do, and we tend to neglect our personal lives, and then, we get to be overworked. And so, we have to take time out for ourselves. I know with myself, I'm a busy man, and I do ministry, community organization, business, and it's like, and you compile all these things together, helping folks, out in the community. It's like, sometimes we forget about ourselves, and sometimes we have to just take time out to say, you know what? I'm not going to put anything on a schedule for the day. I'm going to take time out for myself, you know, for my family, and we're just going to just enjoy it.
That's very true.
You know, I think that's so very important. You know, don't get caught up. If you're out there and you're doing a lot of different things, you wear a lot of different hats. I understand those things are important, but your most important is your sanity, yes. You know, and to do things for yourself. You know, you motivate people by, you know, and inspire them. I saw some of your videos. And so what made you want to do video clips of you inspiring and motivating individuals?
That was more of a business decision. Mm-hmm. I had to really realize that everybody's not going to come to my workshops. Mm-hmm. And that's not because they don't want to. It's just physically impossible for everybody to be in that same room. So I wanted to make videos so to reach people that aren't here. So, because if I'm ever going to leave the East Coast, I'm going to have to make those videos and send it out. And, you know, maybe you can save my mm-hmm. video and mm-hmm. watch it, because the videos are on different topics. So maybe you can save the video and watch mm-hmm. it when you need some inspiration on a specific topic. Okay. So that was the reason for the videos.
Okay, at this time we're going to take a look at Mr. Brendan Colbert, the founder and CEO of the Colbert Foundation.
All right, peace everybody. My name is Brendan Colbert. I'm the founder and CEO of the Colbert Foundation. It is time for your monthly tips for self-esteem and self-confidence retention. Tip number 1, learn to forgive yourself. We've all done things in the past. We've all done things that we're ashamed about. We've all done things where we feel like we are not being a gift to the world. The first step is to learn to forgive yourself. Nobody's perfect, and everybody has an opportunity to turn their life around. Tip number 2, understand, do not allow the world to demonize you for the things that other people have done to you. If people have created and put some injustice in your life, understand that you are not the person in the wrong. Do not allow this world to demonize that. And tip number 3, don't let this world weaponize your pain. We all go through pain, agony, and despair, and oftentimes we wear those on our sleeve. Don't let this world weaponize your pain. You are still a gift to the world, regardless of the things that you've gone through. All right, everybody, the year is almost up. Make sure you keep your word. Word is bond. Later.
Today we're talking with Mr. Brendan Colbert, the founder and CEO of the Colbert Foundation, and he's talking about his civic duties in the community and helping folks out, the grassroots organization, doing the work in the community to help individuals, inspire, motivate, and to assist individuals in any way he possibly can through education, health and wellness. Thank you, Mr. Colbert. Is there any final words that you would like to say to our audience?
I would like your audience to know, audience that support this program and audience all over the world in East Hartford, to understand that you have to always remain stronger than your fears. You always have to remember that fear mm-hmm. is a coward. Mm-hmm. Fear's only job is to tear you down yes. and knock you off of the mission of your purpose. Mm-hmm. So if fear is doing their job, mm-hmm. why aren't you doing your job?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that you are truly a gift to this world. Mm-hmm. No matter what circumstances you're going through. I don't care if you're having a bad day. I don't care if you felt like you're a bad person, if you were a bad person last year, if you made a mistake. What makes you beautiful is not the number of mistakes that you haven't made. Mm. What makes you beautiful is the turnaround of the personality traits that you have done after making those mistakes.
Right. All right. Well, we want to thank you, Mr. Colbert, for being here on Hartford Community Leaders, and quite natural. We serve the greater Hartford area, and so we're looking forward to hearing more of your events happening and you speaking at the different events as a panelist, and we're just so happy to have you, and it's an inspiration to our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, East Hartford. Make sure you tune into our YouTube channel and Hartford Community Leaders YouTube channel to look at a lot of our videos. In this particular video here, stay tuned, and we appreciate all of the support that the community has given us, and we ask you to continue to support what we do here at Hartford Community Leaders, because we serve the greater Hartford area. And so, East Hartford, thank you. We'll see you next week.